I'm sitting with my good friend Garry Frazer, the Renaissance man of Scotland, I like to call you, because you're a rapper, you're a movie director, you help the youth, you're involved in Muay Thai. What do you know fucking do?
Crime and drugs.
Crime
and drugs.
Good man, good on you. So, I met you last year, 2024, and you were messaging me a lot of good stuff with my content, and I clocked and saying, oh, you're a rapper, that's class. And then we came on and you're like, mate, I do films, and you don't just do films, you do them in quite a big way. So you've had me on one of your films, which was an amazing experience. I'd like to get into it more. Can we start on who you are and where did the creative journey come from?
Sure. I think for me, my creativity happened in Glasgow. I was in St Mary's, which is a secure unit in Bishopbriggs when I was younger, and I was shy at maths and English and just the normal stuff that you were supposed to do in class. But the art teacher, she taught me how to draw fruit in a bowl, just random shit like fruit in a bowl, and then I was I sort of clocked on to maybe I could make some money out of this. So what I used to do is I used to get Jim Morrison posters and Bob Marley posters, postcards, and then I would put them onto a thing called, I'm showing my age now, but overhead projectors.
Yeah.
So I put it down, get a bit of cloth, stick it on the wall, and I'd project the image on. I can't draw worth of shit, but I can copy, so I would just do that, and then I would use oil paints or stuff like that for the wall, and I would basically go and sell them for $7.50 teams of hash, they were called at the time. So I'd go and sell it for bits of hash, but it got me, I wasn't good at fighting back then anyway. So I would try and give them to the hardest guy, and he'd be like, oh, this wee tutor's alright by the way. And
this is in the school?
But I'd be the only Edinburgh boy sometimes.
Right.
So you'd get all guys serving 5 years life sentences or whatever, and they'd obviously done whatever. But I was just in for running away. I wasn't this mad fucking criminal or anything like that, but I was caught up in that criminality world. So then I was I guess started writing poetry, and I just I used art as that, and then I was 16 when I got out. I'd been in various secure units or whatever, and when I just forgot about it because life just comes in the way, and then I would really go back into it. I remember I was in prison and I was writing poetry in prison, and everybody's trying to get parcels in and got caught up in the violence, and I'm sitting writing poetry. I remember looking up and going, I didn't belong here. And it was just a bit of a penny drop. And Big Billy, who you'd met before, he was one of the guys gave me a good bit of sort of life advice about this ain't for you, this life is not for you. I didn't think I was ruthless enough to be a criminal, a proper, I think the ones that are really good at what they do, they're quite ruthless, do you know what I mean? I'm too sensitive. So the art was kind of where I chased, so I started writing short stories, and I guess at the time a few guys were in Kilmarnock jail, and I wrote this short story, and the prison officers one of them had phoned my auntie or spoke to my auntie on the phone and says he's quite good at what he's doing and stuff like that, and I just took it from there, and I guess I found a different identity. So the first short story that I written, I went and met this organisation called Pulp and Video, and they basically says to me, do you want to write a screenplay? And I was like, what the fuck's a screenplay? And then I wrote this thing called a screenplay, made a short film, and at the time somebody had been murdered at the scheme that I came from, and I remember it was just one of the moments. I think as an artist it's a bit like being an entrepreneur, you think completely different for everybody. So when I seen everybody getting affiliate, drinking, laughing, I just thought to myself, a year ago everybody was crying over this sort of death, and then it's like it was forgotten about. So I made a short film around knife culture, and somebody submitted it to MTV, and then I got an MTV award, and then managed to go to get into college. I remember, my son, he's 22 now, but he was 3-year-old, and I remember at the time I still had a methadone habit, I still taking smack, still caught up in that life, but he was in the buggy. I remember I was carrying a knife at the time, and I'd go to the college for these interviews, and I'd stash my knife at the roundabout, going to college, just immersed in fear, and the wee guy crying, and going to this interview, and just I look back on it now fuck me, that was hell on earth. But I just wanted to change, I didn't know how to change, but I just knew that I needed to transform into something. And when I started seeing myself as a writer, director, at the time it was Football Factory, The Business, and I just thought to myself, I can do that. I can do that stuff. So I went to college, did an HND at college, and at the time my mate had got out of jail, and I remember him saying, like, before, when I was in prison with him, we were shared a Peter, and he was saying, like, he was going to get his life together when he gets out, and his son was the same age as my son, and then he got out and he died, and I remember got to cut, so he went down the overdose scene, like ambulances, or just all the usual trauma stuff that goes with that, and I went into college, and I just wrote a screenplay about what I'd been through that day, really, and the lecturer, I'd never seen anything like it, he says. So I was like, I knew that I was onto something. I was like, wait a minute, when you've been in the trenches, like, every day is a variety of experiences.
A lot of creativity happens as well.
Yeah, and when they're looking for, like, stories that haven't really been told before, I remember that, I obviously get what they're saying now, but, like, they would say, like, there's only 7 stories that can be told in literature, and I was just like, who says that? I was like Shakespeare or something, and I'm thinking, well, Shakespeare's not been down to Pulton, you know, there's no danger. So I was naive at the time as well, but very challenging to, like, rules and fundamentals and stuff. And then that short film that I made, I ended up sending it to the jail, and the jail bought it, and they started using it as, like, overdose awareness and stuff like that. So that was like, I started seeing, like, oh, there's a place for me here, like the social realism, stuff that happens in schemes. And then I guess, what was one of the turning points, like, when I was going up to the film festival, there's a director called Shane Meadows, and he'd like done This Is England and stuff like that. So I graduated from my HND, again, still fucked with I didn't know any of this at the time, but still had PTSD, still a drug addict, but writing and making stuff, and, like, what am I now, like, 2 kids in, and then at the film festival I basically had my showreel, and I got a crate, and I sat outside the film house in Edinburgh. When you come from Edinburgh, like, there's 2 Edinburghs, you know, there's that city centre Edinburgh, and then there's the other Edinburgh, and the other Edinburgh is like hard, it's like water and oil, sometimes just in a mix. So I sat outside the film house, and I got a tug a few times with the police, what you doing here, all that sort of stuff, and I'm telling them, like, I'm a film student or whatever. But Shane Meadows walked past me with This Is Tomo for This Is England, the wee laddie for This Is England, and his dad. And I basically put onto this A4 bit of paper, writer-director will work for food. Giza Job, I can do that, which is a quote for Boys for the Black stuff. And I thought any working class director would get the quote. So he walked past, I didn't know who it was at the time. So I said, mate, take a look at my showreel and stuff. I'm trying to be a director, I'm going to be a runner, and I'm going to work my way up, and I'm going to just saying all this stuff. And he was like, aye, no problem. He took the showreel. And he went into the film house, and I just thought to myself, maybe I fucked that, maybe I should have, like, tried to press him more. So I went in and tried to hustle him, but this time there was like a crowd of people around him, so I thought, oh fuck, this is somebody famous. And then he was like, oh, we were just talking about you, do you want to come for a drink with us? So I went for a drink with him, went back down to my house, completely forgot about this experience, and then in the morning, he phoned me in the morning and he was like, mate, I watched your showreel, like your film, Tolerance, which is the methadone film. He was like, that's the best student film I've ever seen. He's like, do you want to come up and see my film? It's called Summerstown, it's premiering at the film festival. And I'm like, shame, people like me didn't go to film festivals, all of that. And he was just like, come up. So I go up, go to like this queue, it's all sold out, and it's like so busy. And I'm just lacking in self-esteem and self-worth at the time. And I go to try to turn around, and Ben, my fellow student, he was like, nah, I didn't turn around. And I go to the queue, and they basically, there's a waiting list or whatever, and they say, oh, Shane says that you're going to come up. So we go into this screening of his movie, all the press and that are there, all the film students and that are there, and then somebody at the end, like through the whole screening, Tom was talking to me about my film, and we were watching his film, and I'm like, this is crazy, like This Is England is one of my favourite movies, and the wee guy for This Is England is sitting talking to me, and I'm like starstruck. And then somebody for the audience is basically says, like, have you got any advice for filmmakers and stuff like that? And he was like, where's Garry? And then they spotlight me up, and then he's like, take a leaf out of this guy's book. So I think at that point, like, I knew I was going to do it, but it just gave me like so much wind in my sails, and he gave me some advice and stuff like that. It's like how he came up for Nottingham and the challenges he faced, and it just like absolutely inspired me, like, this is what I want to do in my life.
Brilliant. So how long ago was that?
That is like 2009.
Aye.
2009.
And you've been consistent all the way through? Always in the scene?
Pretty much. So so Stuart Cosgrove, the guy for Off the Ball or whatever it is, the football stuff, he was a commission editor at Channel 4. So at the time, there was a BBC documentary, and it was called like Our War on Drugs or something, and they had these BBC crew come down to Palton and Muirhouse, and they basically got somebody local, and the guy was walking around saying, oh, there's somebody punting for that flat, and so it was one of the ones, and I was just like, and then at the time, people that I knew started flinging bricks at them and just chased them out or whatever. So I looked at the commission editor on the film, and I was like, wait a minute, and I sent the guy an email, and I was like, how come when Shane Meadows watches my film, he says it's the best student film he's ever seen, but then like pretty much a week later, the press are running articles about these thugs and these schemies and all this sort of derogatory stuff, and then he's like coming for a meeting, so I go into Channel 4 TV offices, I'm like, I've made it, and then he's basically saying like, I'll commission you to make a short film. He says, I gave Shane Meadows his first chance, I gave everyone else his first chance, I'm going to give you your first chance. And when he said that and put me into that like sort of level, I was like, I started seeing myself as maybe, I didn't know everything at the time, but I was like, maybe I could be that then, maybe that is what I'm going to be. And then I didn't want to make a film about stabbings and drugs and stuff like that, so I made a movie called Muirhouse Christmas about a soldier that comes back from Afghanistan with PTSD. Done a lot of research, sat with like veterans with like legs cut off and like usual horrible stuff that's happened to the guys. So, and then at the time again, so this was a bit of a common theme at the time, all my pals were up to all sorts, so there was no gang war, I don't want to say that stuff, but there was like tick for tat violence that was going on between people. And I was like, I can't stay at these houses, because normally that would be my safety net, staying with these guys on couches or whatever. I was homeless at the time. So I basically snuck into the university, climbed onto the roof, and I used to be like working with steeplejacks and scaffolding and stuff like that, and on the roof at the university there's this hut for scaffolders and construction workers, and I knew like after a certain time there'd be nobody there, but I'd be able to be warm and be safe, so like I'd basically snuck away from your house, away from the guys, and then climbed up onto this roof, and for like a couple of weeks anyway, just was homeless on this roof, like fucking Quasimodo, Edinburgh. And then I made this film for Channel 4, because I just thought to myself, like, this is my chance, and I don't want to blow it, and I don't want to get a remand or mess it up or whatever. And like, I still remember, like, every morning I'd wake up and I'd look at the roof, and it would be on, you know, where they chop up the bodies and cut the bodies and all that up, so I'd see them fucking putting an arm up and slice it. It was grotesque. Like every day I'd see this forensic stuff going on. I was obviously forensic students or whatever, but I'd see all that shit every morning and then go down to Leaf. And so I made that film for Channel 4. That obviously got some praise and recognition. It was my first time working with a proper film crew, a proper production company. And then Stuart Cosgrove again, like, backed me, but he was like, do you want to go down to Sheffield Documentary Festival? Just experience documentaries and stuff like that, and I love making documentaries. I love people, you know, I'm very interested in people, so I says, aye, no problem. So I go down there, and I don't know if you remember the thing that was on through here in Scotland called the Scheme.
Aye. Big Marvin walked me into the ring in one of my fights, in the cage.
So I thought what happened to the guys was wrong.
Right.
Like, I thought they were exploited, and I didn't think they put any aftercare into what happened when the cameras left. So when we were down there, they were launching the Scheme, and they were, I think it was like season 2 or something, and they were like, all these people, they were basically speaking like they had water in their mouth, you know, like, hey, we were in these areas and deep of Glasgow and it's crime central, and just the way they were speaking, and they were getting applauses, and I put my hand up and started being argumentative, and I says, well, it's poverty porn. You know, that phrase started coming around. I was like, you're exploiting these guys. Poverty porn.
Poverty porn.
Aye, because they're like these middle class people, university educated people going into schemes, and not really looking at the complex issues of how people end up addicted to diazepam or addicted to heroin. And they're just like car crash TV. So I started arguing with the commission editor, Ewan Angus, who ended up becoming like friendly with him. But the next day morning, I chased him to he was going to the train station. I chased him to the train station, and I was basically saying, like, look, I grew up in Muirhouse in the middle of an HIV epidemic. I think I've got a unique story on train spotting. Like, train spotting's good, but it's a piece of literature. Mine's is quite like, not the real story of train spotting, but definitely a real story growing up amongst that. And he was like, look, come up and see me in my office when you're back up in Scotland. So I ended up going to the BBC, and I go to this meeting, and he says to me, look, I'll commission a documentary, he says, but I didn't want it to be about train spotting, it's already been done. He says, I want it to be about your life, an autobiography about your life. Do you want to do it? So I had like minutes to make a decision, and I was like, yeah. I guess at the time I didn't, like, I loved Everybody's Child, like I loved making a movie, you know, which is a raw, authentic portrayal of me struggling with addiction, struggling with like abuse, child sexual abuse, childhood abuse, physical abuse, struggling with all that stuff and trying to make sense of the world. So that was, but the catharsis that came through actually like having an outlet for it, and so many other people watched the movie and took something for it. So yeah, I made that movie in 2013 and won a BAFTA. So I went to the BAFTAs, and at the time Muriel Gray, the I don't know what she is, she basically, but I got the BAFTA, she was like, you're no longer a junkie Ned from your house, you're now a BAFTA award winning director. And I was like, I found that condescending, and I was like, I was never considered myself to be a junkie Ned from your house. So I won the BAFTA, and then the production company I was with at the time, Aconite, they submitted into various film festivals. So this wee guy from your house, they gave me a passport. Well, I had my passport, but they basically said, do you want to go to Germany? So I was nominated for an award in Germany. I was in like, where was it, Hamburg and Leipzig in Germany. I was in like Bergen in Norway. So I went to the Bergen Film Festival, and at the time, again, I was a drug addict. So like my drugs had ran out when I was in Norway, so I started going into withdrawals and that. And the guys that are running the film festival were like, would you like some hashish? And I went, please, please give me some hashish. So I rolled a joint, and then they were like, would you like to see the King of Norway's suite in this hotel? So I go into this, when the king stays in Bergen, this is his hotel suite. So I go into this hotel, like, Brian, this is a fucking gold toilet. And this guy from your house, and they were like, oh, we need to go to an appointment downstairs. So I'm left in the king's suite. So I had this wee one skinner, and I lay on the king's bed, one skinner pushed in the king's toilet, this gold toilet. So it was that type of experiences. But when I came back for there, I was like, I need to get clean.
Right.
Do you know? So it started.
So how strong was your addiction?
Oh, I was fucked for like 22 years. I was in the wilderness for like 22 years. I think like a lot of guys.
What was it doing?
So like everybody else, I think mine started like in the 90s, taking speed, taking ecstasy, party drugs, hash, hook knives and stuff like that. But like, what had happened was everybody was like coming back for the raves and what had come down. So people were taking jellies and stuff like that. So it would just be anything really. But again, heroin came back in. So after Trainspotting 1 came out, it was like 96, heroin came in, and that's like, it just took me and just like wrapped me up in a cotton wool. And I was making money as well. Like I was going down to London, I was dealing for the Turks, like folk through here were wanting me deed, folk for Edinburgh were wanting, like, it was just...
Well, you're actively in...
so I was going down there. There was a wee English guy, he's dead now, Terry. He was doing like 6 year, ex-Marine, but he was from London. And I was just impressed at the time, like guns and stuff like that. I was like, I wasn't around at that time, but I seen him with guns and that, and I was like, I want a piece of that. And I just had this, because I'd watched all the gangster movies as a kid, I thought that's what I want to be like. So I'd go down there and I'd come back up here with like heroin that was like 86% pure. So the wee bit that I was in Edinburgh, that was called the Callies, so it was like Dalry and Gorgie, just took over that bit, and just I set up shop. And I guess with that came a lot of the violence as well, you know, like me committing violence and like me fighting for my life on many occasions, with getting stabbed and like just getting tortured really in a flat, like just loads of stuff like that I just thought was normal. This was before the film, mate, but this is before the film, so that's like 95, 94.
Right.
So I was like, between the ages of 9 to 16, I'd been in like 38 different care placements, every secure unit in Scotland. Like just that, you know, and then that like I always feel like if you go to private school, there's a place for you in the boardroom, and if you go to secure units in the care system, you will make a good criminal. You know, it's that sort of thing. So the trajectory was just set up for me like that, and it became like dealing smack and that, and then I got a crack habit and my life just went even worse. You know, that was like rock bottom. Like heroin, I could sell heroin, I could have nice clays, I could live really with the heroin, but when the crack came, it stole my soul. You know, and I remember like my son was like 3 weeks old, and I go back to my flat, I was like washing up crack, had a baby with me, do you know what I mean? Scumbag had a baby with me, I'm washing up crack, and I put him down on the couch, and I went to go and serve somebody, and I went to go and sit down, and I just about sat with my boy, and I was just like, I feel like greeting now, but I was like, I need to change.
That's not good.
Like, I can't, my soul was hurt, and I didn't know what my soul was. I didn't have consciousness. I was only on a one-way path to jails, institutions, or death, you know.
And where does that addiction spiral for you? Or when you're younger, getting into trouble?
Just trauma. I think, like, growing up, like, my dad's a good man, you know. I think my mum is a good woman, and they love me. Like, it took me a long time to accept the fact they do love me, but they also love drink. You know, my dad, like, loved going to the pub, that sort of thing. My ma, pretty much the same. So, like, I was abandoned as a child, so the streets raised me. You know, so the schemes raised me, and when the schemes raise you, like, I know it's a bit, like, whatever, but, like, I know people that have committed murders that aren't bad people, they just can't even remember the murder, it's just, the violence is just endemic in them. So, like, for me, the trauma was, like, I didn't want to feel anymore, you know, so I just ran full force into the drugs, and the drugs gave me a good life, because if the drugs were that bad, nobody would take them.
And it's, look, I talk about this all the time. We're Scottish, maybe people that aren't from Scotland listen to this. It is very, like, it's ingrained here, isn't it? Like drug abuse and alcohol addiction. We've got the highest level of cocaine use in Europe, which is mad. We've got in Glasgow, the East End of Glasgow, the life expectancy of a man's 54 in some areas, which is less than fucking war-torn Baghdad.
It's crazy.
Highest teen pregnancy and stuff like that. It just comes for this mad culture. But when I was living in Spain or like Portugal, for instance, people can have like a casual wee drink, a wee wine with a food in it. We don't drink like that. We drink to get fucking blasted, and then you're up all night talking or whatever. There's not enough. I don't know. There's not enough people talking about that.
Because, like, for me, the amount of money that's made off it is incredible. So, like, I was doing it's a business. So I was doing an article with a journalist yesterday, and I was saying, like, how come in a nation like Scotland that has the highest drug-related deaths, how many movies have you seen about Scotland's drug-related deaths?
That's true.
Because the middle class people control the narrative. So it's easier to say these benefit scrounging scum for schemes who are single mums, who are convicted criminals, and they hit out with all the gangland shit and community Mr. Big. So there's this narrative, and millions upon millions is spent through papers, which is the same people who, so say like GlaxoSmithKline, they were responsible for introducing, so like yeah, about a history lesson with the drugs. In my area, I think it was like 1983, they'd done a AIDS test, the AIDS had started coming out, right, nobody knew how to deal with it. And basically what happened was, and it was the police's fault, I'll go on record and saying that it's the police's fault. What they'd done was, they started saying that if people got caught with needles, they were getting the jail. So all these heroin addicts started sharing needles. So they shut down the needle exchanges. So they created this whirlwind of people who were intravenously drug using. And then they were saying, like, there's a HIV epidemic leading to AIDS, which again now, after COVID, you start looking at that and going, what is AIDS? Because so many people went onto medication, and the medication was like the COVID jab, replicates what the disease is, or what they say. So it just becomes like, you can ask certain people with PhDs to say even what I believe growing up with the AIDS epidemic, there might not have been an AIDS epidemic. It might have been, again, these fucking pharmaceutical companies coming in with this vaccine, which is combinational therapy. So then the drug dealer chains, these guys come in and start prescribing all these drugs for all this, and who is it? Homosexuals and drug addicts. You know, nobody's want to come in and say, back in the 80s, nobody's trying to save homosexuals and drug addicts. So then they're like, they come out, they call it the gay plague. So there's this derogatory stuff in the media which creates confusion, and people didn't, I remember like saying you were from Edinburgh, people didn't even want to shake your hand in case you had the virus. Do you know, there was this narrative around it. So what they done was they introduced methadone, because they wanted to take away heroin use within that population. But then when the methadone came out, everybody starts buying the methadone. But then they give them diazepam, so they create this supply and demand, and then they say we're taking the valleys back. So these drug companies have partly been there for the last 30 years, like making a fortune at it. So when everybody in Scotland starts dying of the fake valleys, You're going, well, why were they taking the fake valleys? Because they removed all the real valleys, and then like people are like making Valium in a garage in Motherwell or a garage wherever, and it's like people just start dying again because of like whatever's going on. So for me, that's where we are now. Like the drug deaths isn't it because somebody's away injecting heroin or taking cocaine. It's this like 30-year thing of the same targeted group in Scottish society, you know.
So where do you stop that? How does a nation stop that? You know.
Well, I think like for me that people in schemes have complex needs through trauma. Not everybody, but you need to have a mixture of things, which is like how many rehabs is there in Glasgow? Like next to none. You need to have, like, for me, you need to have rehabs in places like Postle, in places like Drumchapel, in places like Easterhouse, community rehabs run with a mixture of lived experience and health professionals, so when you get them off, you can go to the gym, you know, you can encourage them to do yoga, you can encourage mindfulness, so you have to take a holistic approach along with a harm reduction model. And again, like, I know what we were saying about the cannabis stuff and all that, but like, just legalise it. Like at the moment, you've got a mental situation where you've got pharmacists who like right now, I can go online, go on an app, and get cannabis delivered to my door, or go to the chemist and get medical cannabis. Whereas somebody from Postal who's selling that, I'll get the jail. So you've got this weird discrepancy with no awareness. So you're needing guys for the recovery world coming and talking about the danger.
Part of the right team, so.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? He's not part of the organisation.
Yeah. So who's the biggest gangsters?
I know, mate. Do you know the British government, the British Empire, made their money through drug dealing?
Yeah, the opium wars.
China, and then you think to yourself, fuck, there's all these people. I don't think we should have drugs, so I'm anti-drugs, mate. I'm even anti-cannabis, right? I don't think we should have them. I think we should have methods of trying like getting people off them.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? I don't see that. Like, I stayed in Portugal, and you see the odd maybe drug addict walking about the street and that. But it's so different from Spain, which is like a few miles down the road, and they decriminalise drugs. So if you get caught with drugs, you're not getting in trouble. They actually recommend you to therapy and stuff like that. Exactly what you're saying there, and you can see it. You can see how nice and clean it is, and how clean the people are. And because I think in Portugal, after Salazar, the dictatorship stopped, right, you could get heroin cheaper than fucking a pack of cigarettes. Yeah. At one point, you know what I mean? So it was
they were the first ones to decriminalise in the 90s.
Whenever it was. But now when I see it, this is like 2025, you can see how clean it is, mate. Yeah. It's beautiful. There's not as many people affected with drugs, and if there is, they're obviously away getting help. Do you know what I mean? I think we need to get, that's what I'm saying, we're fighting against these people that maybe are making money, like, do you know what I mean, the government or whatever. But we need to have that. We need to have people figuring out how to help young men, right? How to help young men, for instance, educate them on what these drugs are doing to them. Maybe let them speak about what their trauma was in the past. Do you know what I mean? Maybe help them with a better environment, right? Cool, you're sitting in a park taking drink and fucking snorting gear when you're 14, 15. Right, let's have a football team for you guys here. Let's have this for you guys here. Do you know what I mean? That's the kind of things I'm trying to help with. When
I work with the wee guys now, so obviously, like, I can't say who I work with, I'm not likely, but like when I work with wee guys now, like, so the same secure units that I was in, I go back into them now and work. I just came from Pullman before here, and it's like, not a lot of them know anything about fighting. Like, their idea of fighting is somebody getting punched. So when you're encouraging that, nah, like, stop trying to have loads of guilt and shame attached to people. Like, we're males, we're designed to fight, but you need people like yourself, like Chris Bungard, or even my Muay Thai, like certain coaches that provide a space for that. You're not going to carry a knife. If you're doing Muay Thai, MMA, the chances of you carry, unless you're a bam, do you know what I mean? Like, if you're coming into gyms and you're still you're a bit confused, do you know what I mean? Because there's a space for you to explore, and violence can be beautiful and orchestrated, but at the same time, if that's pent up and you didn't have an outlet for that, then you can see where the self-damage comes in and the self-harm comes in as well.
I was in Pullman, funny enough, see when I was talking about you didn't feel as if you should have been there, you felt as if you're out of place. I felt that as well, and there was some sad cases. There was a wee guy, fucking 16, who was doing a lifer, and he was 4 feet tall, you know what I mean? Some of them were in a really bad situation, but I know I didn't need to be there. I knew that I just made a mistake. They all made mistakes, but I felt right out of place there. And there was some screws that were alright talking. I could listen to them, because I was running about actual good men when I was younger, do you know what I mean, like, all my life, and I could listen to these guys and I could think that he's not really a bam, he's actually trying to talk to me here, but the other wee mob when they listen, they was take the cunt out of them there. And also St Mary's, what you said, they're coming up here.
Are they?
They're coming up here. My
That's
boxing
brilliant.
coach, Peter Harrison, who was Scott Harrison's dad, who taught Alex Arthur, taught everybody, right? He used to work in St Mary's. He used to do a shift and come up and train us. So see things like that, mate, I'm well and welcome to go and fucking organise like sessions so they come up to train. And you're going to maybe potentially get right good fighters, because they're coming for that traumatic fucking thing. Translate it into something good, perfectly get it in focus, whatever it is. Instead of taking drugs, instead of selling drugs, instead of starving people, maybe get a world champion or do you know what I mean? Maybe get a fucking change your life, really. But
I just think, like, if you look at Dagestanis or you look at Thailand, like, I'm really lucky to have been to Thailand and stuff, and I looked at like the schools, it's implemented in the martial arts is implemented into that. It's why they're not cheeky.
It's non-negotiable.
And that's what it should be for us. Like, if somebody had done that to me in St Mary's, maybe I wouldn't have become a drug addict.
But with combat, so combat.
Like if somebody took me to, like, I remember 13-year-old, I think I'd been dubbed up for like 16 months, and they were just like, this wee guy's fucked. And they got this guy who'd travelled to China or something, and he was there on a work, he was from Glasgow, he was a teacher, but he came in and he was like, do you want to try Tai Chi? And I was like, what's Tai Chi? I still, see when I'm in my house now, I still do a bit of Tai Chi for myself, my breathing exercises, my energy. That's something that maybe 6 weeks when I was 13, but I still remember that now because it was like, this is a truth.
Even the art as well. So when you're in that situation, the woman's told me to paint the art, the fruit, that's like for something. There is help. There is. It doesn't just be fighting. It can be
anything. Encouraging the passion.
Aye, reading, fucking writing. But I think maybe like those of not enough money get left alone. And like there's talking about this director that was just making this poverty porn about these people in the scheme. There's the people with the money maybe just think we don't deserve that. Not me in particular, do you know what I mean? But people with no money deserve that.
Yeah.
And that's a bit of liberty.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, I set this charity up because I know that I'm going against anybody that owns a gym, but some gyms you need to pay because it's a business, of course it is, and they deserve the money, they're giving their time. You need to pay. So if there's like a young mum who's on benefits and she's got 3 sons and they're fucking running about mad, she maybe can't afford, even if it's £60, that's 190 quid that she needs to fork out, boxing gloves, t-shirts, whatever. So I'd say in here it's free. There's 3 wee brothers from around the corner come up, they've been up 3 times this week, so we've had 3 sessions they've been up. Mate, fucking solid wee boys. I gave them some stuff, their hoodies and all that, see the wee face of appreciation that they all have. So like, maybe they've not had that before, do you know what I mean?
Their sense of identity changes as well. And when I'm the same, when it comes to the acting, as I run this acting academy, and I was like, sometimes, and you've been to the workshops yourself, there's something magical that happens in that, and usually the workshops don't last for long because you have to go into production and stuff, and I always think to myself, well, what could I take the magic of the workshops and do something else? So I created this Gaff Media Acting Academy. My mate's got Capola's gym in the Gale, and I was like, can I just use your space on a Sunday? He was like, aye, free of charge. So then I could say to people, look, come along. I think I charged the first 2-3 weeks, and I started feeling shit, and I was like, you know what, I'm just going to make it free. So there wasn't a financial barrier. The wee guys just coming to learn how to act.
Plus, younger guys.
About what age is he, like 15 to 30? Like, so that was designed for the younger ones, right. Because I was taking on like stuff that was happening in schools and shit like that for part 3. I needed obviously maybe 17, 18-year-olds that could play 15, 16-year-olds. But just that acting academy, a lot of them, the wee guy from your house, a lot of them would never have had a chance to come to, and because then it's like, well, that costs money. Like if you look at the Royal Conservatoire and that for here, there isn't many people for the schemes that are drip fed or put into these situations. So people go, acting's not for me, or theatre, that's not for me. Well, it really is. But they convince you, it's like politics, politics isn't for me. But that's what they want. You know?
See if it's in Glasgow, you can welcome to this whenever the fuck you want. Whenever you want, this space is free for you. I liked all the people that I was working with in it. Story backgrounds and like really pure characters when I was doing that film with you. So when I was a wee boy, I wanted to be a movie director. I didn't want to be a fighter, I wanted to be a movie director. And obviously just life carried on and I never done it. So this was the first experience I'd ever been in a movie set. So the way I'm talking to you now and the way I talk to you when I see you is dead different from the way you are as a director. not that you're a different person, but you change into this
I didn't
energy.
even know what happens, man.
It's actually really, really inspiring. I like to be directed after you. Do you get what I'm saying? I really, really enjoyed it, man. You've got a talent in that, being a director as well, you know. It was like, you've just had everybody the correct energy, we all knew exactly what we had to do. Now, that's like running a fight gym, that's like running anything. See if you're doing it for these kids for free, think about it without the money, right? Get a few quid and go and fucking spend it, whatever. But I believe that we're going to pass on an afterlife. So see if you do things for free and you help people, you're building your empire in the afterlife. See that there, that's so much more beneficial than getting fucking your 20 quid off them. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Like, I always think like money should be a reward for something and never the motivation. And I think if it is, then whatever it is, like money comes and goes. Do you know what I mean? Like, but like, I think that's what we do as a society. Like we chase money, and I've seen people in big hoosies that are the most saddest people that I know. Do you know what I mean? So like that's what I mean about like finding passions. And like when I done therapy for a bit, and the therapist says to me, it's the biggest compliment I've ever heard. She says, Gary, do you know what you do? You birth consciousness in people.
Wow.
And I was like, I didn't see the directing as that, but the workshops are that people are emotionally shut down. They come, and you've seen it with the guys from Cisco, they come and they have this energy, it just shoots through them, and it adopts into or manifests itself in other areas of life and stuff. And I think that's beautiful, because that's catharsis. You know, people who have been through whatever emotional like adversity, they then put into these characters. And I just think when people say it before, there he goes again, and I'm like, because I didn't have an awareness of what happens, I just know that in my head it's a way, like even though I'm on set, my head's like, that shot has to join up with that shot, and it has to sound like that, and it's like a jigsaw puzzle. So like, it just, I become autistic with it and obsessed, like absolutely, like, and it does, like most people, we make a movie, like you're part of the workshops, then you leave and go home. You come on set, then you leave and go home. But for me, I'm part of the workshops, I'm part of being on set, and then I'm sitting on the edit, and then I'm sitting on the set. So I'm with people, so I might not have seen somebody for like 5 months, but I've looked at them every day. So it's this weird thing that goes on. But
what is catharsis? You wrote that, and that is in the last bit of your film, isn't it?
Yeah, I think catharsis is like having an emotional outlet for the shit that you've been. I'm sure they're more eloquent than that, but like if you've been through problems in life and you struggle with emotions and you find an outlet for it, drawing a painting, if you're a lifer, drawing a painting can be catharsis. If you're mindful, you're going for a walk and have a catharsis. I think it's taken from a Greek guy, I'm not too sure, a bit ignorant there, but it's taken from a Greek guy who had catharsis, was a Greek god.
I remember seeing that at the end of your film. So that's what I'm trying to say, seeing the workshops and that, just like Gary talking, but then that creative element that came out, and I can see that you're clocking all these puzzles as you're going. Maybe the same way, like the way I'm talking about, but when I'm fighting it's totally different. So passion, you're giving them, you're letting them divulge into what their passion may be, and then that leads on to purpose, doesn't it?
Yeah.
You might have some of them become, some of these wee guys that you work with might become like a Academy Award winner.
Well, Hendo, one of the guys that I worked with through here, he went to go and win a BAFTA. Like there's so many people that I've worked with that after the experience, not because of me, but because like after the experience with me, they go on to go a certain amount of self-belief that they can do it, so it gives them the willpower or the means to go on.
Just a wee push, a wee bit of encouragement, like you're doing good, and a wee bit of confidence that they might not have. By the way, you're good at this. I say it at the time, like I see like a PT in the gym, or a wee boxer in the gym, for instance, 14, 15, and he's doing quite well, and I'll clock him a few times. I'll go up and give him a compliment, and maybe they've not had a lot of confidence, because I can see it, they look at me like, fuck, so you're complimenting me. But that just changes your day. See, if somebody gives me a compliment, I'm like, fucking hell, good day today, man.
I'm like that with Muay Thai. Like if I'm not going to embarrass them, but if Rowan or Wojtek just say one thing, it's like God himself has came down. Like, you know, that's also when they say it as well, guard. Like I've got this cognitive disability that keeps my hands doing. I don't know. I think I start thinking, and they just no matter how much I think it up here, it just happens. But when they give me a compliment, like it's the best feeling in the world. You know, it's because I'm like, they can see how much I'm trying, they can see how much I want it, and like Muay Thai is an art. You know, like if you are practicing that art and stuff like that, you will be full of flaws, and you're going for that. For me, some people go for the 1%. I'm just happy with like the 0.2% of progress, but I just, like I say, I just didn't give up. You know, I just didn't want to quit. I didn't give up, and it gives me the self-belief that if I go there for 2 hours a day, whatever else happens in my day, nobody's got to try and punch, kick or elbow me. Like that puts everything else into it. Writing an email isn't so stressful. Picking up the phone and speaking with people isn't so stressful, you know, and that's what Muay Thai does for me. And I've seen it with the Thais. Is like, what does it say? Is like, there's 3 types of people that do Muay Thai. There's the people that want to fight in stadiums. There's the people who see Muay Thai as an art, and then there's the drug addicts. And that was a Thai guy that says it, or he says glue sniffers. But I was like, they put me in the glue sniffers category. Like, I'm no one.
Just trying to get better.
Yeah, I'm just trying to get better. I'm just trying to be a better man, you know.
Isn't it? I like that. I really like that. You spoke about politics.
Yeah.
Last year. What's the deal with that?
So I was thinking about running for politician, but it's such a. I didn't want to develop a messiah complex either. Like, I get to do what I want to do at the moment, but politics can be such a shit show as well, that it can just, like, at the moment I can do Muay Thai myself, I can make films, not myself, but I can pretty much. But with politics, like, I need people who understand politics to navigate the system, do you know what I mean? So I was still thinking about one day running for politics, just because when you put me in a room full of these people and I talk and they talk shite. They didn't have the life experience, you know, they can't speak to somebody at a bus stop, they can't go into any pub and speak to people, whatever. I feel like I can, but I guess at the moment, yeah, I would like to. I mean, I seen that Polish Prime Minister or whatever he is, and he's doing MMA, and I was like, wait a minute here, like, there is space, there is examples that I can use in myself, but I maybe one day running for politics as well.
Fantastic. In your own
constituency? Yeah, just be independent.
And what would you do? What would be your priority?
Mental health. I try to fix mental health in the country. If we at the moment are currently excluding kids for education because they didn't fit into a certain curriculum, and we put everybody on it, like, I hate the way we are as a society, where everybody's got additional support needs, everybody is neurodivergent, and there's all these labels and things, and my kid running around calling herself ADHD, and other one's calling herself autistic, and like, we do have certain awareness over it, but the kids are labelling themselves now, and the schools are part of this problem, because the education system is a mafia in itself. So, like, for me, we'd be trying to do stuff around education, try to take more holistic approaches with kids, where you get them out into working, and, like, as I say, like, more outdoor education stuff, more mindfulness stuff, more martial arts, like wrestling, introduced into high school curriculums, Muay Thai, throw everything into that, because, like, the way these bastards are gone, they're going to push us on to war. And I've been with Russians, we don't stand a chance.
I agree.
Like, we need harder, more physical. Like, for me, I would bring back some sort of boot camp stuff and that as well. Like, to take guys and say, look, you want to get fit, you want to get healthy, let's do this, let's show you what discipline really looks like. Some more
functional, make it actual, something that can actually help you as a life skill as well.
Walk into a job interview and feel confident in yourself, because your physicality, you're doing your best to pay your dues, you know. And it's that sort of stuff. And I guess with the politics stuff, like, I like the idea of Scottish independence, and I've not really given up on all that stuff either, you know. I think
you are an independent.
Absolutely.
I agree with you.
Absolutely.
I was just going to joke.
Absolutely. I think that the narrative was lost with these bastards the last time, and it wasn't introduced into working class communities because they're scared of what's going on in these working class communities. So I was through in Glasgow during the referendum working, we were making stuff, and then I was also at George Square with all the, like, watching them all, and I just felt like this country deserves better, you know.
You even just see the identity of being Scottish. It's a good thing. I'd never say I'm British, I'm Scottish, you know. I like to raise my kids like this, we're Scottish, because we've got our own culture. I think our language, Scots, is actually its own language. It's got enough deviation from English to call itself its own language. I'm proud of it, but nobody really talks about it, you know. We're so different, not that we're better or anybody's better than us, we're so different from the other countries in the United Kingdom, so I'd like to be our own. It's something that's, I don't know that's beyond the culture and identity. There is money involved, I would imagine. There's oil, there's this, there's...
Yeah, they're saying it again now, like, oh, an independent Scotland, Donald Trump would take, do you know what I mean? It's like, so now anybody talks about independence now, they're now aligning it with imperialism, and it means that we can't defend ourselves. It's not about that. It's about your national identity. Like, we're a country that's colonised at the moment, right? And we have been colonised for a few hundred years. So they take everything. The first thing they take is culture. So our voice isn't really our voice, which means the BBC and these things, like, how many things do you see on Netflix or getting made that represents the pics, that represents real Scottish history? We know that we've been on battlefields in the fucking past, you know, like, that's part, we're a warrior race, but they that's why it suits them to be drug addicts, alcoholics, and because it's the same as what they've done with Indians, it's the same as what they've done with countless people over the years, the Aborigines, Ireland,
Pakistan, India, Afghanistan, it's the same thing. And what happens is the countries get colonised or whatever, raped and robbed, and then when it's decimated, these people from those countries come to the UK for cheap labour or whatever, and then the people of the UK and natives to the UK that start not wanting the people in. You know what I mean? It's a mad system that you need to look into the full history of it. Do you know what I mean?
I've got people that like bomb the boats, stop these people from coming across and that, and I'm like, they'll quite happily go down to Dover or wherever, and these people, like, we've disrupted Afghanistan. Like, if you know your history, Afghanistan didn't start with that war. Like, we were right in it, we pushed them to, like, starvation. We've done so much stuff in the opium wars and the Silk Road and that, but we didn't get taught, because we don't get taught about colonialism at school. We see ours, like when Donald Trump done his speech the other day there, he has an imperialistic view of the world about what America saved. We beat Nazi Germany, we beat Italy, but we know that's not the case. You know, the Americans came into the war late, like Pearl Harbor, if it was even, the Japanese, like, they came into the war late, and they have the history is written by the victors, right? But the British, they make it as the exact same. Like, we won the war, we stopped slavery. They've got this, like, narrative over the empire being the best thing that's ever happened to the world, whereas for me the most interesting stories is when they took guys for they done the Highland clearances. We were the first slaves in America, not the blacks, for Africa, and then the Scottish became part of the problem, but they became part of that thing where they're going, no, you're going to put these blacks in the field. So we had such a massive role in slavery that you only have to walk through Glasgow to see these amazing buildings. Go, where did that money come from? Why do our banks look so good? Nobody, well, they're built in blood. You know, they're absolutely built in blood. So that's what this city done for me, because I grew up as a Catholic here and part of all that shite, which I'm not even bothered about anymore. But you look at the world differently, because you look at the world through the eyes of the oppressor. You know, I think in this city anyway, you have that sort of thing where, for me, I was looking at, my family's for Ireland, so I was always looking at, like, what the British done to Ireland, and injustices, socialism, that sort of stuff. You know, James Conley or whatever, the Edinburgh school teacher going to fight in the Easter uprising and stuff. So, like, that stuff there.
Was he an Edinburgh school teacher?
Yeah, he was an Edinburgh school teacher, and we didn't get taught about that at school. You know, and I'm not saying like one side is better than another. That's not what I'm saying. But we need to get taught. You know, and that's part of our problem with the schools.
History is written by the victors, and so is the education system. Eventually.
Yeah.
I like being from Scotland. I like being from Glasgow. I like to say I'm Glasgow Eugene, but I do think the segregation stuff, when you do talk about the football and that, isn't good though.
It's unhealthy.
It's unhealthy, especially when it comes to football. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Like, you're a Celtic supporter or whatever. I was into football. I'd say I'm a Celtic supporter.
I've been there for 8 years.
But mate, I couldn't even I wouldn't take my son to again. The football's good, it's athletic, but the fans and the culture around about the fans and the history and all that kind of stuff, I'm right against it, mate. Yeah, I'm really not into it. The
last time that I supported football, I got clean off the drugs. It was like 2016 or something. Or I got a bit clean like 2015, and I remember I said to my son, come on, we'll go to the pub and we'll watch the Celtic and Rangers game. And we go into this pub in Edinburgh, and it was like 300 Rangers fans, right? And I'm like, oh, okay. So I was just watching it, and then they started shouting Catholics out the pub, all Catholics out the pub and stuff like that. And I'm standing at the bar and I'm drinking like half the pint, and you can tell obviously my inner Catholic is now like, I look like the fucking, I look like the Catholic, and I'm like saying to me man, I can't do this, and we're about to turn So a couple of them threw stuff, a few of them started spitting on us and stuff like that. And I've got my weighing room at the time, and I'm just like that. I remember I walked to the pub and went, I'm not into football anymore. I just started doing kickboxing around that time, and like now when people talk about football, I didn't for the first few years I would just go, is that right, who's at the top of the league, and I would join in because I felt like I didn't want to be embarrassed, like I didn't support football. But it just got to the stage now I'm like, I can tell you who's up and coming in MMA, I can tell you who's up and coming in Muay Thai, but I can tell you nothing about football because I don't have the same passion. You know?
My daughters play football.
That's
and I'll support them. I hate football, but I'll support them, do you know what I mean? And there's team, I think the girl, this is what I'm saying, I think the girls football team in Glasgow, there's like a joint team, Glasgow United, and it's like both sides that play for them.
That's brilliant.
That's what I've seen there. I've always thought to myself,
women leading the way there.
Aye, that'd be a fucking good idea for us all, do you know what I mean? We wouldn't need to fight with our fucking next door neighbour every Saturday. Aye, I'm really not against it. I'm really not into it. So, you invited me on to Supply and Demand.
Yes, I did.
Part 3.
You were in fight camp?
I went to Portugal.
Was there no fight camp you were in there?
Nah, I was training. I went to a holiday, a cheap holiday with my family, and I missed it by a day. Right? I fucking gutted me, honestly. And I seen you had me in this group chat and they were all writing about it and stuff like that. And I was like, pure FOMO about it. And Bungie was in it.
He done amazing, man. Like, for somebody who's not an actor.
Aye, but he's
like,
into movies.
He's much more into. He's a movie buff. I'm not. Mega. Right, he is. Like, he's mega. So switched on. But to see him, like, even the friendship with him and all that as well, like having him down at Poulton in Muirhouse and the wee guys speaking to him, like, he's never asked for a thing.
Aye.
You know, he's never asked for a thing. He's came through, spent his own. I remember when I heard them say, like, I just done like 3 hours of training and then came to the workshops, and I was like, I need to start doing 3 hours of training, because I would do like an hour here and an hour there thinking I was training, and I was like, I need to do that, you know what I mean? So it was just that started rubbing off. I wouldn't have probably been out of Thai Jiu-Jitsu if I'd never seen him do stuff and all that as well, do you know what I mean?
He's a man, mate. The wee bit of Australia. And I wasn't really mega, didn't really know over it too much. He was training in my gym, because he was opening his own gym. And I had a fight that pulled out or something, cancelled. And he just messaged me. I spoke to him a handful of times. He's like, do you want to go to Australia? I said, there's a fight for you over there. And I was like, aye. And then I was thinking to myself, how the fuck am I going? I says, what you doing? Do you want to come with us? Didn't you? I don't know. He's like, aye, fuck it. So the two of you just went on this travel to Australia, mate. He's right like me, like really same character, same interests. Like, kind of good people come together, me, you and him, you know. But he's one of the best in MMA. Him and Chris Duncan. Chris Duncan came down here.
And I was starstruck. I was starstruck with him on Saturday. I was like, mate, well done on winning that fight of the year. Just like stumbling my words and all that.
Mate, he stayed the full day. One of the last to leave, and his 2 wee kids with him. Fucking just see people like that. Mate, that's athletes, you know what I mean? That's real athletes. They two in particular for Scotland. But anyway, I cut out, never get a chance to go to fucking Supply and Demand. So what is that about? I see it as like a Scottish crime thing, but it's like Top Boy. It's like really in depth of what it is, what's happening in this.
Well, The Wire is one of my favourite things. You know, The Wire, the American.
The Wire, right?
So like, I would never have known anything about Baltimore if it wasn't for The Wire.
Of course,
you know, so once I watched The Wire, I started looking at like Baltimore, the homicide rates, the prison rates of the youngsters and stuff like that as well, and I was like, fuck me, like what's my version of The Wire? So I done the grey area ages ago with BBC. We done like 1 hour, broke the viewing figures and stuff like that on BBC, and then they never commissioned any more. And I think after that, I've just never had another opportunity to get anything funded for broadcasters or Creative Scotland or whatever. So I was like, okay, I get it. And then I was like thinking, like, what kind of stories that I want to tell? So I do like the idea of like a character who's a soldier, because I feel like speaking on stuff that the veterans have gone through or been through and stuff like that was going to be important, because like you can't really knock veterans, do you know what I mean? Like it's quite untouchable to try and. So I was like, I wanted to take on their issues, and I remember my mate, who's now my mate, we were going down to a Muay Thai event down in Birmingham, and he was just sitting, he just randomly speaking in front of the car. He was like, see, when I was in Afghanistan, he was like, there was an IED exploded and my mate's brains went everywhere, and I think I've got a wee bit, he's like, he's so good, man. He was like, I think I've got a wee bit PTSD for that. I'm not really too sure on that. Like, and this is a man's man, like a real, he's a family man, he's hard. But when I heard him speak like that, I was like, I want to put that into the stuff. But So basically back in the day, there was like this guy that I used to sell stolen guitars to, and his name was Boston. He used to own a second-hand shop in Leith. He was an ex-police officer. So him and his dad had a boatload of hashish coming to Stornoway, right? And they paid off all the coast guards. This is in the papers.
The police guards?
So the ex-police officer and the ex-police officer's dad, they were basically importing all the sukba or hashish into the country, tons of this stuff, right? So anyway, they paid this customs officer to look after the boat, and the guy went to the pub or something, got drunk, came back and fucking stumbled upon them with the hashish. So I don't know if they battered them, but they set the boat on fire, killed this customs officer, so they ended up getting in jail, right? So like 18 years and 22 years. But then it transpired that the dad was a grass for MI6 because the dad had a diamond mine in South Africa with that Charlie Richardson, right? The London guy. And MI6 were paying them for information on the left-wing rebels or whatever it was for South Africa at the time. So when I was reading all this stuff for inspiration, it says in the papers that the son got 18 years and he got 22 years, and he served like 2 years, and they put him to an open jail in England, and he walked out of an open jail in England, Pentonville, like 2 years open jail, and he was found dead like 5 weeks later, 6 weeks later in a flat in London for a heroin overdose. This guy didn't take smack. So I was like, okay, some skullduggery has also happened there. So as a screenwriter, I'm looking at, I have a wall in my house, like just loads of stuff that I put on the wall. There was also something more mental than I could ever have written. So the Moldovan economy, right, there was these, don't know who, siphoned off like £500 million for the Moldovan economy, but they found it to a shell company that was registered in Pilton.
Right.
So I'm reading this in the papers, so this is like stuff that's out and open, right? And I'm like, what the fuck? So £500 so people think they're drug dealers in Pilton. The one that was obviously like £500 million was registered. So I was like, right, this is the world that I want to take on. Again, we didn't really speak about the security services in this country. We didn't really speak about the war in Afghanistan. Like, how come we invade Afghanistan and the availability of heroin in the UK goes through the roof? So I was...
Coincidence, eh?
I'm like, interesting, Brian, interesting. So I was like, same again, I was like, I want to take this stuff on. So I just thought to myself, right, I like the idea of, like, I'm sure there's some barbers that are good, but like, basically there were so many barber shops and stuff like that, Turkish barber shops, English barber shops, that I was just like, it can't all be, like, how can you afford a £3,000 a month rent and da-da-da, and like, what did become clear with my life experience, when I was selling smack down in London, or getting smack for London, we were going to this street, right, that was full of butchers, and it was all Turks. After September the 11th, when the hangings happened, we got a phone call saying you need to come down and get like the last day because there'll not be any smack for about 8 months coming into the country. So we went down, and the same place that we would go to, there was no shops anymore, it was all boards over the shops, so we're obviously all fronts. So I was like, right, that's interesting to me. So I thought, right, this character Charlie is dealing with the Turks and stuff, so he has to be dealing with like sort of international terrorism, but his cousin Frank used to be in the army, gets out, got the PTSD stuff. What happens if MI5 try to get an informant into this? So I just, and again, stuff that's in the public domain, but there were so many instances of MI5 trials collapsing in their use of informants that I just put all of this in and created this like melting pot called Supply and Demand. So we shot part 1, and we shot part 2, but at the time for part 2, they gave me like $100,000 compensation money for being abused in care. So I took the 100, I spent it 4 months, but I took the 100,000, but I spent like 20 grand of my own money making part 2 as well. So I put that into part 2, again, just back myself. That's how I got to Thailand and got to do loads of beautiful stuff. And then part 3, we came into part 3, so that was part 1, part 2, part 3, and then now we've got to try and do a part 4 as well. So
I need to get one.
Oh, I've definitely got to get you. But
Big Bungy was in it, he was good in it, man.
Right through Charlie, so we're still keeping, I could always say anything about the storylines, but we're still keeping him actively involved in it as well. So if you watch part 3, he gets, there's a jail thing, so MI5 take them out of the jail, so Charlie gets an injection and gets sent to Carstairs, and the other guy, or Frank, I'm not going to give anything, you have to watch it.
Let's see it. And what is that on?
So just on YouTube at the moment, I just put it on YouTube again. I was going to try and monetize the content, which is for part 4. Part 4 can't go up onto YouTube, so now I've got... It can't, because at the moment I'm making this stuff, spend like 42 grand on the 3 films, and then put it up onto YouTube, and there's no monetary thing coming back for YouTube. So what I'm going to do now is I've got a meeting, there's a boxing promoter that's trying to help me. He's got money, so I'm obviously got to say to him, like, I need 15-20 grand, not for him, but like there's another investor that's trying to help. So there's people that are trying to help, so I'm now at a stage of trying to create like a business case for people to invest in the films as well, so I can maybe make part 4 for 15 grand, and then another 5 grand to create my own website with paywalls on the content, so you can just click on it and be like 10 quid, and that means now...
For me personally, I'd need to pay to watch part 4 because I've watched 1, 2, 3 for free, so that is actually good marketing. There's other people on YouTube.
It's just a testers, like something. I'll just hit testers out and hopefully they'll come back.
But if they've had it for free anyway, they're not going to see the end of it, do you know what I mean?
Well, I couldn't put in cinema, we hired the cinemas, and then, so we're hiring the cinema for like 300 quid, selling at the cinema, making 600 quid back, paying off the cinema fee. But people, like, I had that decision, everybody was sitting about it in a year. So I could have tried to hold on to it and grip on it, but I was like, as an artist, I just want as many people as possible to watch my stuff. So it went to like, I think like over 100,000 views now on the trilogy, no paid marketing or anything like that, just all organic. And then when we put that one out there, it got like 20,000 views in 2 weeks.
Brilliant.
So there's so many people want to see it as well. And the jail as well, like the jail were like, come in and use it, the same bit that we were at. When we were making the Fever film, I was like, I'm coming back here. Like, I want to come back here and make my own thing as well. Like, I liked making Fever, but it wasn't like my writing or anything like that. So we came back and the jails were like more than happy. So one of the governors contacted me and he was like, for Pullman, or no, a prison officer contacted me for Pullman, and he was like, do you want to come in and speak to the guys and show your stuff? And I was like, yeah. I'm also going to use the training facility. So like, as appreciation for you letting me use the training facility, I'll come in, and anytime you want me to come and speak to prisoners, screen a film, talk about getting your shit together. So it's created that sort of, no monetary value, but loads of like spiritual value in it.
Brilliant. And when is part 4 released?
I don't know, I've got a meeting on Monday. I need to write it. So I've got a meeting on Monday, which is quite important. And then a lassie that I'm working with, a female that I'm working with, Maureen, she's wanting to hold like a thing called a producer circle, which is just trying to get investors. So now, the day like, I'm not really that business inclined, but the day like tax write-offs and stuff like that, because I know people that have got property companies, people that have obviously got a lot of thing they need tax rebates. So I'm now trying to like create a business case to say, look, if I can get like private investors to come on board with like 4 films, 5 films, I'll make the films, but you just get a tax rebate or whatever it is. So it's just trying to like say to people as well, because the government try and like incentivise that stuff. So I now try to get somebody more business acumen than me to come in and be like, because I don't want to do the business stuff, I just want to do the film. But if somebody knows about the business stuff, get a name to come in. And then it's the same with that's why I was saying, like, I didn't want to just do like part 4, I want to like make a slate of movies, like 4 or 5 movies to say. And that's why I was like, it's so important to me. Like, I've got so many pals that are Muslim, and the way that Islam is constantly portrayed in the media, I'm like, that's not my experience yet. So I want to try and create something around that world as well, because again, it's like,
I know I'm Muslim.
just so happens. But that's why I used to work with the refugees through here, and it was one of the best experiences of my life. Like a wee guy from Ethiopia, wee Baz, who's based in Glasgow, I was working with him, and he messaged me, he was like, I met him as a boy, he was trafficked into the country. But I met him as a boy, and I worked with these kids, and they were all like 14, 15, and like, nobody deserves the life that they had to come here. Like, nobody, no human in the world deserves that. So it was really important to me to put a problem on the set of supply and demand. Took all these refugees for free here, so I worked on a project for here with like the Scottish Refugee Council, met all these wee guys, and what they were going through with the Home Office was horrible. Like, some of the wee guys had been trafficked in for like Afghanistan, and in the Home Office would be trying to kick them out. So like every week, without any counselling, without any therapy, they'd have to go to the Home Office, relive their story, be traumatised. And I was like, again, I've got something for you. So we brought the guys from Afghanistan, Ethiopia, brought them through to Muirhouse, again, me bring everybody down to the hood, brought them down there, got them involved in the workshops, and then the wee guy went away and got stoned. I was like, one of the young team was like, Garry, can we give him a joint? And I'm looking at him, he's like, I smoke hashish in my country all the time. And I was like, this might be a bit different, but look, I'm not going to say no to you, but okay. And then I'm looking around and the wee guy wasn't there, and the company says, I think, I better not say his name, but I think so-and-so's in the car having a panic attack. I go in the car and the wee guy's falling asleep in the car. But it was just, and then wee Baz messaged me and he was like, can you come through and shoot my wedding for me? So I came through, he got married, and I kept like, I've never been to a wedding without drink. So it was like just a 3-day wedding or something. It was an experience, and he would go and sing these songs. So it wasn't just like, so he has to show up to his potential wife's house, they answer the door, and then they sing this like Ethiopian, and I could tell, this has been here since day dot. You could tell, like I'm not, like my energy was like, this has happened for hundreds of years, thousands of years, and it was just that beautiful experience in another world and stuff like that as well.
And that was in Scotland?
That was in Glasgow.
Wow, that's amazing.
That was all Glasgow, aye.
That's amazing. After supplying the 1-4, what's the plan?
Well, I've got the grey area part 2 that I want to make, because again, that's sort of unfinished business for me. That film I made about my life when I was a drug addict, everybody's child, I want to make a follow-up of that.
Oh, nice.
So now that I can do it around recovery and what it takes for me to, like even your, like, that's why like following your, is it Disciplined? Like the thing that was on Telegram, it's fucking brilliant.
Good.
Like I didn't do it, I didn't tick all the boxes, but when I was trying it, the sense of achievement, that book, it's solid. But it's so worthwhile, like that's a prescription for life. Like if you do that, even when I seen what's the guy's name, is it Bobby Mc?
Bobby McVitie.
I seen him on the ropes. Like mate, that strength is incredible. When I seen him do the ice bath thing and then say like, oh I didn't do to the 5 minutes, so I went back in it and I was like, that to me is inspiring.
Mate, I'm going to get Bobby on. He is one of the most fortified men I've ever met in my life. Mad story, I'd love to hear what I'm saying. The MMA fighter, and we done this Sunday group thing, and every Sunday we're going hill walking and stuff like that. I ended up fighting, so my training was on a Sunday. I was like, I can't really keep this on. He's kept it going for about a year and a half. Every fucking Sunday, without fail, he's got the group that goes down. It's beautiful, man. He had about 60 odd people at one time.
Yeah, you make the change, you didn't wait for it, and he seems to be one of the guys that just does it himself.
He's a doer, man. He's a doer. He's a really good guy. He's helped me a lot as well since I came out. Because I was the same as with Chris. He fought in a different team, wasn't really mega pal with him. But then I fought a few of his training partners and that. Just clicked with him. It's mad how you come out of things when you're older and I'm fucking quite like that guy. I'm going to connect with him. I've done that with a lot of people recently. So back on the film, Gary, what a pleasure, mate.
Nah, thank you, man.
What are you going to tell the people that's watching this?
Just take accountability for yourself. Like show up every day for yourself, and you know, like the hardest challenge to man since we've learned to make fires is no following our desires, you know. So like try and like on a daily basis, you might not eliminate them, but at least try. Don't give up, and you know, no matter what you've been through, like anything is possible in your life if you want to achieve it. Like absolutely anything is possible, you know.
Brilliant. Fucking love that. Thank you very much, mate. That was class.